What I can't shake is that smell. It came back to me again as soon as I saw pictures of the refugee detention centers. I saw it when Mike Pence and Lindsey Graham entered a center and visibly froze in horror, clearly tried to hold their breath. I know that smell. The children, the mothers, the fathers, the shame of being filthy and hopeless and afraid. I used to carry that smell on my own skin after long days with the borders dispossessed, the poor, the unaccompanied minors, orphans, prisoners, garbage pickers. It began in 1977, and I wasn't any kind of a saint. I wasn't a socialist snowflake. I wasn't a refugee. I was a translator and volunteer all along the border, serving under a crusty Baptist preacher, a red state humanitarian, a war veteran, a Zen Baptist. I worked there from the mid-70s to the mid-90s. In 2004, I learned to track humans with a Border Patrol supervisory agent for a book I wrote. Each year, I'm in Celaya, Mexico, visiting the caravans. You remember the caravans? Last year's over-exaggerated threat of invasion already forgotten. That smell is upon them too. It's so easy to assume that the other, that nettlesome barbarian coming around for an alleged free lunch, is not quite human. The immigrant brings heinous diseases to our pristine country. See Ben Franklin railing against alien Germans, or fascist Europe's rat drawings of Jews, or our own recent folly, the impervious border wall, that one that blew down in a windstorm at the end of the Trump administration, that fell into Mexico. Dirty in the Western mind equals bad. Inhumane conditions are easy to impose. Mothers and babies are the easiest to afflict. The smell rises. Here's the thing though, it's pornography, filth porn for dominance in a diabolical political S&M session with no safe word. Help, mercy, please, don't function in these dungeons. And the real point of that smell is to taint all Americans. It's the smell of victory. It's not your victory. What is yours is acquiescence. There is no them. There's only us. When you walk into an orphanage along the border, or the cardboard and wire home of a garbage dump scavenger, or a refugee rescue shelter along the long, hot road to the USA, the smell presents itself. The kids bear it like a stain. The adults feel it as visceral shame. It is hair, it is sweat, and it is more biological sense that circumstance has not allowed relief. It is not a choice. It's the first wire cage. Do you imagine the trail of tears had a scent? Back in my relief worker days, the first thing we would do in these locations was to celebrate. There were games and competitions and donuts and prizes, because tossing worthless goods at scrabbling nuts of desperate survivors for TV cameras is power porn. Once everyone had settled into a common humanity where laughter happened, trust could begin. The next step was washing. We washed and shampooed the kids. No one touched the mothers, though when we could, we gave them water for their own personal use. My first job, aside from providing a voice, was washing feet. Same job. After play and cleanliness, we distributed food and clothes, sanitary pads, and diapers. Is it insane to ask our for-profit kinderloggers of the old administration, held over to the new, to do the same? Apparently it is. Down in Celaya, halfway through the terrible northern journey of the refugees, there's a respite center known as Abba House. It's not huge, except in its effect. Sometimes its limited space is crammed with 300 sleeping people. A gentleman whose leg was torn off by the migrant train works there with kids too exhausted to go on. The Mexican pastor who created Abba House cares for anyone who comes, often under great risk from predators. He accepts all guests. The one thing he will not accept is that smell. He knows that the most important thing for a person's dignity is cleanliness, followed by safe haven. Doctors helped him determine that it takes 3 days of rest for these wounded bodies to recharge and carry on. He installed a bank of showers so that every traveler who comes first gets a bath, then clean clothes, then shoes. He cried when he showed me a couch in a corner where an old man reclined, reading a book. That is what you need to be a human being, he said. He also pointed out that those heading north are immigrants, but when the U.S. rebuffs them and sends them back, they are refugees. They return toward Honduras, Salvador, and many will die if they get there. Mexico will be forever changed by these wanderers with nowhere left to go. And what about the Haitians? Yes, Haitians. Tijuana has a robust Haitian community. Bad news, they're climate refugees, escaping more hurricanes, started with the earthquakes. Climate also drives much of the Central American journey. Is this what the administration doesn't want to think about? All this is just a beginning. These strangers seeking help are the harbinger of the coming global tide of climate refugees. Heat, crop failure, weather, floods, the magic act of our party, Republican Party, had magic phrases like bad hombres, like the wall, like illegal, MS-13 cadres of 10-month-old children. They were meant to distract you, to feed your fear, your rage, your guilt. All of them work. They con you into believing you've done some moral act by having a feeling. What the magicians don't want is action. Can you smell that smell? It is the scent of our world burning. These children have been spit on, and they are human kindling. What would you do if unknown strangers were paid $750 a day to hold your child in a secret warehouse where she is comforted by concrete and steel as if she were a baby monkey in a bio-research lab? You would not write tweets. You would tear it down. Ultimately, the taint is upon me. It's upon you. We're responsible. We own it. Kindness is not weakness. Cruelty is not strength. We have gone instantly from the land of helicopter parents to the land that chases parents with helicopters. Pharaoh tried brutality once before. Didn't work. This phenomenon is a biblical exodus in the fevered world, and we Samaritans are free to decide how our children will forever judge us. For the literary reader, check out Those Who Walk Away from Omelas by Ursula Le Guin for a true parable of what we are now living. Mr. Pence, Mr. Graham, Stephen Miller, the former president. Breathe deep, boys. Your legacy will never wash off. You will forever reek. Don't kid yourselves. These children are your children. These children are you. Remember how the famous poem ends. Quote, then they came for me.